Tonight on KGW News, disturbing racial slurs and taunts at high school football games.
And then as we focused, we're like, oh, he's making monkey noises and chimp noises.
As coaches say, students and adults need to be held accountable. Plus,
should we have been looking sooner than a few months before the election? Absolutely.
It's the DMV error that allowed more than 1,200 non-citizens to register to vote. So why did they wait 6 weeks before notifying the Secretary of State? Then the death toll from Hurricane Helene rises in the southeast. How a place hundreds of miles from landfall is one of the hardest hit. But first,
really helping out a guy that honestly deserved to be here a lot longer than he was.
As the search for a much-loved fishing guide comes to a tragic end. Thanks for joining us. I'm David Molko. Within the last few hours, recovery crews in Hood River confirmed to us that they have located the body of 26-year-old Michael Shufelt in the Columbia, a couple miles west of where his fishing boat capsized last week. Catherine Cook is here. Catherine, you spoke with friends who are trying to help his family through what must be an incredibly difficult time.
It really is, David. They started a GoFundMe for his family. Michael Shufelt leaves behind a wife and 2 young kids. Loved ones say they have a long road ahead, and they just want to help them.
Kids play together, family have dinner together, all that good stuff.
The good stuff, the memories Cameron Black built with his friend and neighbor, Michael Shufelt, a 26-year-old husband and father of 2. Both men fishing guides out of Woodland.
I'd always call Michael kind of the old school fisherman caught in a young guide's body, man. The kid was good.
Last Wednesday, everything changed. Around 11:30 that morning, Hood River County Sheriff's deputies responded to an overturned boat near the mouth of the White Salmon River. Investigators say during a fast-moving storm, a large wave hit the boat, causing it to capsize. Crews pulled 6 people from the water, but Michael, the fishing guide, was missing.
It's such a small community that it just kind of spread like wildfire.
Days into their search, sheriff's officials ruled the effort a recovery mission. Friends shifted their efforts to helping Michael's family. They started this GoFundMe to support Michael's wife and their 2 young kids. Cameron says he's grateful for the support raised so far. He hopes it continues.
People rallying behind like a young family and really helping out a guy that honestly deserved to be here a lot longer than he was.
We've posted a link to the GoFundMe on KGW.com. The 24-foot fishing boat, which sank during the storm, was also recovered by a private salvage company. David.
26 years old. Thank you, Catherine. Appreciate your reporting tonight. New at 11, the Oregon School Activities Association says it is investigating allegations of racial slurs and taunts targeting athletes at a predominantly black high school in the Portland metro. David Douglas assistant football coach Marcel Fraser tells KGW that players, staff, and fans have endured multiple incidents this season. The first, he says, was after the first game of the season at Forest Grove when someone pulled up in a pickup and started making primate sounds. The next week, a JV player being called the N-word during a game at Rex Putnam. And when the varsity team played at Nelson High in Happy Valley, there was more.
We get to Nelson, and all hell breaks loose. We're playing in the game, multiple kids, 2 kids specifically come off the field crying. What's going on? Coach, they're saying King Kong. Coach, they called me the N-word.
According to Fraser, someone threw a cake at Douglas fans in the stands and adults shouted vulgar comments at players at halftime. He says the on-field incidents were brought to the attention of game officials and coaches, but no athletes were removed from the games. In a statement, Nelson High principal Greg Harris said the behaviors that have been reported are not only unacceptable, but also stand in stark contrast to the values we hold as a school and district. He went on to say, we will now do the work necessary to repair the harm done. Meanwhile, the OSA executive director told KGW, quote, we've been in contact with administrators from all involved schools and school districts since then as they work together to investigate what took place and hold those responsible accountable for their actions. To get you caught up on tonight's other headlines now, a man is in the hospital with critical injuries after he was shot by Milwaukee police during a traffic stop. This was just before 1 a.m. on Southeast Oak after officers say they pulled over a driver for a suspended license. It is unclear what led up to 2 officers firing their guns, and it's not clear how many times the man was hit, though a witness told KGW he heard 4 or 5 shots. The 2 officers are now on paid leave. Their names and the name of the man who was shot have not been released. In Woodburn, police have arrested a 14-year-old they say posted a school shooting threat online. This was after the FBI said it had become aware of a threat posted on TikTok, which they tracked to a Woodburn address. The FBI and police say they searched the teenager's home on Friday, then later took them into custody. The teen is charged with disorderly conduct, which is a misdemeanor. And health care benefits for Boeing machinists are set to expire at midnight, with workers well into week 3 of their strike. The company and union met with a federal mediator on Friday, but the union says talks, quote, broke off and no further meetings have been scheduled. Boeing raised its offer to a 30% pay increase over 4 years, but more than 30,000 machinists are not budging, wanting a 40% increase to make up for more than a decade with no new contract. They also want their pensions restored. Tonight, we are learning that it took Oregon's DMV some 6 weeks to notify elections officials that had learned hundreds upon hundreds of non-citizens had been mistakenly registered to vote. Alma McCarty's in the newsroom. So, Alma, why did they wait so long?
Yeah, David, that is the big question. And it appears the DMV wanted time to figure out on its own how big the problem was and why it happened.
6 weeks before the situation became public, the DMV discovered an issue that ineligible people had been registered to vote. And internally over that 6 weeks, from August 1st to September 5th, a spokesperson for Oregon's DMV says they were working to figure out how this could happen, what changes could prevent it from occurring, and how to review their records at scale. The DMV telling KGW that a systematic review of transactions began on September 5th. A week after that, the DMV communicated with the Secretary of State for the first time after wrapping up that initial review. The Secretary of State's office confirming that September 12th date and stating, "We appreciate the DMV's work to help us correct this error before ballots went out for the 2024 election." Governor Kotek and her team then learned about the error on September 13th. This development shedding light on the timeline comes after a hearing in Salem where lawmakers pressed the agency for answers.
Just to be clear, that you didn't have anything set up ahead of time to audit this for these issues.
Chair Bowman and Representative Helfrich, that's correct. Let me state the obvious. Should we have been looking sooner than a few months before the election? Absolutely.
All 1,259 people improperly registered were removed from the voter rolls. Officials say they're ready for the upcoming election and have implemented some best practices suggested by the Institute for Responsive Government, the same think tank that inquired about how automatic voter registration was going in Oregon. Those include having a second employee conduct a manual review to ensure documents match, adding another proof of ID confirmation in the data entry system, and making sure the data entry system is designed in a way that more easily differentiates the types of documents customers are required to present.
In other words, it'll be much more difficult for DMV staff to accidentally select U.S. passport in a drop-down box, automatically registering someone to vote under Oregon's motor voter law when they're actually looking at a foreign document. Though it remains unclear how so many mistakes happened over a series of years without anyone taking a closer look. David?
Yeah, hindsight is always 20/20, isn't it? Thank you, Alma. Now, 6 for sale, but only 2 sold. That is the outcome of an auction today, with the city of Portland looking to find buyers for several abandoned homes that have become eyesores or burdens. Now, combined, their owners owe more than $1 million in unpaid fees for code violations and nuisance complaints. Neighbors of one of those properties told us it is a magnet for squatters and has also been infested with rats.
It's important that we get these properties into the hands of Portlanders that want to see the city healthy, thriving, and developing and moving forward.
All right, another list of abandoned homes will be presented to City Council next month. You're watching